Hey, what's going on there, YouTube family? Urban Burton here with the self-defense company Santa Clarita. And today I want to talk to you all a little bit about my martial arts background and how I became a self-defense instructor. So my martial arts journey started in 2005 after I graduated high school and went into college, and always wanted to train the martial arts and decided to sign up. So I actually started my martial arts journey in traditional kung fu, and I was training for a little bit. I felt like something was missing, so a couple years later, I went down to the boxing gym and I learned how to, learn some boxing. That was a lot of fun. And then a year later, I had taken a course at the college level for my physical education units, and the course was, of course, pardon the pun, the course was a Japanese Jiu-Jitsu class. So I got involved in all three. I was still doing what I was doing in Kung Fu. I was still utilizing my boxing skills. I was learning Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. And by the time I hit 2011, I became certified in, or I should say qualified in my Kung Fu skills. I still had like I said, I was still doing my Jiu-Jitsu. I was still boxing. At that point, I was a brown belt in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. And after that, I got into Judo for a little bit. I kind of dabbled here and there. But I eventually settled on Sanda, which is Chinese-style kickboxing. And the Chinese-style kickboxing was, of course, really a good complement to my Kung Fu training. Then after that, and this was around 2014. So after that, around 2016, got back into Judo, started training for a little bit, for about a year and a half or so. And then life happened and I started working. So again, more sporadic training. And then by 2020, of course, the pandemic hit, so I stopped training altogether. But right before the pandemic in 2019, I found the self-defense company. You can look that up at myselfdefensetraining.com. And I went in to basically become an instructor. And the good thing about it was that it was really less about learning techniques, more about learning strategies of self-defense and understanding what it is, what it isn't, and most importantly, what techniques are actually going to work in a real self-defense situation with someone who's a complete novice when it comes to physical fighting versus, somebody who's well-trained and, maybe in boxing, kickboxing, MMA, etc. And one thing I will mention, in Sanda, I did fight twice. Won one, lost one. But because of my schedule and because of my crazy work schedule, I wasn't able to really commit to doing a whole lot of matches. But I did one international, and then one for charity. And so, fought twice. Worked as a bouncer for a number of years, from 2012 to 2015. And the point I wanted to make on all of that is that little by little I started kind of learning what was real, what worked, versus what was just, kind of unnecessary and just kind of flowery, as they say in Chinese martial arts, right? But it was a really good experience, and what I learned was that a punch is a punch and a kick is a kick. But I also learned that, hey, it's important to understand in a self-defense situation what actually works for self-defense. And to put it in a nutshell, it's gross motor movements. Okay, that's what's going to work in self-defense, which in martial arts they say are basics, right? So it kind of led me to get an understanding as to what worked and why some of the stuff that we see in the traditional martial art world has a hard time being applied in the real world, and why a lot of the things that we see in the combat sport world are very easy to apply in the real world. So with backgrounds in both, I understood which techniques would work, which were kind of flowery and wouldn't work. And so even in my classes and in my private lessons that I teach now, even though I add some of my Kung Fu, for example, Kung Fu theory in there, I add it based on what I know from being a self-defense instructor. I was officially certified in 2020, by the way. April of 2020, I was officially certified after studying for about almost a year, about a year. But yes, it's really important to understand, what works. And so that was kind of my journey, my martial arts journey was, so I went from Kung Fu to boxing to Japanese Jiu-Jitsu to to judo for a little while, and then of course quit, went to Sanda, and then after Sanda went back to judo, and of course combatives, which is what I'm certified in right now, and now I'm back to judo. I'm actually doing judo again. So I'm actually trying to expand my knowledge base, have a better understanding, because now I understand which techniques are going to work in a situation where I have to teach people solid, basic self-defense. So I know which techniques are going to be, more advanced or going to rely a little bit more on athleticism versus just relying on natural reaction. So, but it's also for me, it's also, just to challenge me, challenge myself, put myself in a position where I can say, okay, I know how to fight on the ground. I know how to fight standing up. I know how to defend myself if I need to in the street, because I got street knowledge of fighting because of my bouncing background. So at the end of the day, it's been a wonderful journey, and now I'm certified to teach or qualified to teach Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, combatives, and of course Kung Fu. And I actually teach Kung Fu to kids and adults and everybody, but for a lot of people, they work with kids. I work with kids. So if you want to find a little bit more about my Kung Fu background, you can take a look at my other channel. It's called Tiger Crane Martial Arts and Fitness. You can take a look at that channel. It's a really great channel. It's just getting started, but I'm going over like all the different things that I learned in Kung Fu, because that's what I'm teaching. And yes, that's what it's all about. One thing I do want to mention is that I'm also a mobile instructor. So in addition to all of this, I do have one place where I teach self-defense classes, which is the place I'm in right now, which is actually not my studio. It's a Taekwondo studio. They're letting me use the space to teach my self-defense classes. But I also teach private lessons in people's homes, and I teach on various places where there are children, but that's for the martial arts. That's not for self-defense. I also do seminars for different people, real estate offices, large companies. I'm looking at doing one for Sunkist in my area. I've done them for small groups, everybody from young women going on their way to college, to moms groups, to mom-daughter groups. Done a bunch of stuff for that. So with all that said, I know the video got a little long, but I just want to let you guys know where I come from and what I'm currently doing. Like I said, I'm trying to make a business out of this. My goal is to one day own my own martial arts school and teach traditional martial arts to kids, teach and adults, but teach traditional martial arts, teach combatives, self-defense, teach Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, and make that my main income and dream. And of course, I should also mention that I'm also a certified personal trainer with a degree in kinesiology, what I went to college for. So yes, I'm multifaceted And I use all of these tools in my business, and I usually get money from, one place or another. So with that being said, thank you if you got this far. I know it's a long one, but I really wanted to tell you guys who I am, and more importantly, why why you should be taking my advice. Again, I'm not saying I'm the number one in the world, but I do come from a background with martial art uh, uh, I come from multiple martial art backgrounds, and we're having fought before and worked as a bouncer. I really do understand and know what violence is versus, you know, ring fighting, and what the differences are and how to prepare for both. So, with that being said, thank you again, folks, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.